If you ever come across a car running on an empty road in the middle of the night, headlights on, engine warm, but no one inside, the correct response is not curiosity. It is distance, because in the case you're about to hear, the car was not abandoned, it was left behind, and whatever stepped out of it was never supposed to come back. They found it at exactly 3:11 a.m., stopped in the middle of Briar Hollow Road with the engine still running. Hazard lights flashing at a steady interval that suggested intention rather than malfunction. And what unsettled the first officer on scene was not the position of the vehicle, but the absence of any explanation, because there were no skid marks, no debris, no signs of mechanical failure. The car was centered perfectly in the lane, the fuel tank half full, the engine warm, and the driver's door closed but unlocked, as if the person behind the wheel had exited calmly and fully expected to return. Yet the road itself offered no reason for stopping, no nearby homes, no businesses, no intersections, only dense forest on both sides that absorbed sound and light, and inside the vehicle the interior light cast a dim blue glow from a smartphone resting on the passenger seat. Its screen cracked and illuminated with 12 missed calls, all originating from the same number, the registered owner's own number, which immediately raised concern, because repeated self-calls at that frequency are not accidental, and when the officer shut off, the engine, the sudden silence felt heavier than before, unnatural, and it was only then that he noticed the footprints beginning beside the driver's door, bare human feet pressed clearly into the asphalt, leading away from the vehicle and into the woods with steady spacing that showed no sign of panic or confusion, steps that continued until they stopped abruptly 30 feet into the tree line, ending without disturbance, without drag marks, without explanation, and when search teams arrived at first light, they expanded the perimeter, combed the forest, deployed dogs and thermal imaging, yet found no blood, no clothing, no broken branches, nothing to suggest injury or struggle. The dogs refusing to advance past the point where the footprints ended, exhibiting signs of distress, shaking, whining, one collapsing and vomiting before handlers withdrew them, and by midday the search was suspended. The driver identified as Evan Rourke, 36, employed, no known medical or psychological conditions, officially listed as missing, though privately investigators acknowledged the case did not conform to any known pattern, and when analysts examined Evan's phone, they uncovered a 14-minute voice memo recorded at 2:47 a.m., unlabeled, beginning with routine driving noise and Evan softly humming before his voice shifted, becoming tense as he stated someone was behind him, that he couldn't see anyone but could hear movement, that he hadn't stopped or picked anyone up his breathing growing shallow as a secondary sound emerged beneath his words, slow and deliberate, later described as resembling fabric or skin dragging across a hard surface. And then Evan asked, almost inaudibly, why the voice was in his car, and when a response came it matched Evan's voice perfectly in tone and cadence but lacked emotion, stating only that it had always been there, the recording ending without interruption or distortion, while dashcam footage from the vehicle showed Evan alone, yet reacting to something unseen, eyes widening as he stared into the rearview mirror, hands tightening on the steering wheel, the car drifting slightly before correcting itself, Evan choosing to adjust the mirror downward rather than turn around, as if acknowledging that seeing carried greater consequence than ignorance, the footage ceasing at 2:46 a.m. without explanation, and days later a gas station clerk came forward stating Evan had entered the store shortly before his disappearance, purchased nothing, and stood motionless in front of a freezer door, whispering apologies and promising he would not look again. Security footage initially showing Evan alone until enhanced reflection analysis revealed a second distorted silhouette standing directly behind him, taller, thinner, unnaturally close. And just as the investigation stalled, the vehicle was discovered again on Briar Hollow Road in the same position as before, engine running, headlights on, the driver's seat pushed fully, back as if adjusted for someone taller than Evan, condensation coating the windshield from the inside, 3 words traced through it with elongated finger marks that did not match human proportions. You left me. And although the case was quietly closed months later with no findings, one anomaly was never publicly acknowledged because system logs showed Evan Rourke's phone number continuing to place calls every night at exactly 2:47 a.m. to the personal phone of the first responding officer, calls that remained connected without voicemail, transmitting only breathing, the low hum of an idling engine, and once a whispered confirmation that it was still driving, and Briar Hollow Road remains open without signage or restriction. Yet locals claim that late at night, when the forest is silent and the radio fades to static without reason, the rear-view mirror can feel wrong, because as long as drivers keep their eyes forward, the road stays empty. But those who look report the same sensation, that the car behind them is no longer empty, and this time the driver does not leave.